I'm applying for adjustment of status form I-485 based on marriage to a United States citizen. But I was working in the United States without the employment authorization. Could it be a reason for denial of my application?
No, if you're how are you basing it on marriage?
Yes.
Okay, if you're married to an American citizen and you file your adjustment application, you can be 100% truthful and tell the Immigration Service that you worked illegally in America. The fact that you worked illegally in America is not a bar to getting a green card based on adjustment through marriage to a U.S. citizen. It may be a bar in other types of adjustment applications, but not in this particular case when you're married to a U.S. citizen. So I would advise you it's perfectly okay in terms of letting immigration know there's no reason to lie, and you would be entitled to your green card. It's not going to be a problem. Go ahead.
Are you listening? Yeah.
Yes, I'm listening.
I have a question for you. I have a brother who is married to a citizen here around America. Now, my brother, he had a 2-year green card. And then, so he's looking forward to apply for 10-year green card. Now, the problem, he had a baby with another woman. And then you want to travel to Africa with the baby. So is it possible, is there any effect if he's traveling with a baby through immigration and customs? Is there any problem as he's looking forward to apply for 10-year green card?
Well, it's not so much traveling with the baby that's the problem. When he goes to apply for his 10-year green card, the Immigration Service is going to say, hey, was this a real marriage that he entered into? And he strayed from that marriage and had an extramarital affair, but it was a true and loving marriage and he's with his wife? Or was it one of those situations where he paid somebody or somebody just agreed to marry him to get a green card, but he was truly in a relationship with somebody else? That's what they're going to want to know. And he's going to have another interview with his wife to make that determination. Hopefully it's the first of the examples and not the second of the examples. And if it is the first of the examples, he should make an appointment to come see me. If it's the second of the examples, he's got big problems, and I would not, or nobody would be able to help him because you can't help somebody who entered into a business marriage.
There you go.
Listen, my grandmother, she had filed for my uncle, and from 2003, right?
Right.
The lawyer took care of the paperwork or whatever he had to do. They had wrote them a letter in Jamaica stating that they haven't heard anything from them within a year. They were saying about they're giving us a year more or something like that.
Right.
I don't really understand the case fully.
Well, basically, that your uncle's been eligible for a green card for over a year, and the embassy's saying we haven't heard from you, and if we don't hear from you in another year, we're going to cancel out the case. So I'm not sure what the lawyer's doing or what your uncle is doing or what your grandmother's doing, but somebody's got to take control of this situation, contact the embassy, and start processing your uncle for the green card. And what I would suggest you do is if either you or your grandmother are in the New York area, or even if you're out of the New York area, even if you're California or Alaska. I had a client call me from Alaska. We did a telephone consultation. So we can do telephone consultations from all over the United States, or if you're in the New York area, come in and I'll be able to help you.
Okay, I would like to ask a question.
Yeah.
In 2008 and 9, I didn't pay any tax. 2010, I pay off what they say I owe them. But I have Sean looking after my 2008 and 9.
Okay, so Sean's working for you. By the way, folks, Sean, she is an attorney.
Right, works for Brad.
Works for Brad. And
does taxes, right?
My question is, can I do affidavit support?
Can you do an affidavit of support?
Yeah.
Are you going to be the main person giving the affidavit of support, or tell me?
I'm a side person.
You're the side person. Well, if after Sean files your tax returns and those tax returns are dealt with, and you can support that person 125% above the poverty level, why not?
Okay, but what I'm saying, I have to wait until Sean finish, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I want to know. All right.
I just want to ask her if I have a niece, if I could file for her.
A niece only if you adopt her, perhaps.
Adopt her?
Yeah, there's no such thing as filing for a niece. Now, if you're going to go adopt her, that doesn't necessarily mean you can still help her. There's plenty of people who have adopted children, and they still couldn't help them, because when you adopt a child, it has to be done on a very specific way. If it's an orphan, you got to get pre-approved by the courts here to adopt an orphan. You have to have, if the parents are still alive and you're going to claim the child's orphan because they've been abandoned or the mother can't support the child, you have to actually have that particular country's organization in that country. Like, for example, in Jamaica, it's I just went blank. Jamaican Adoption Board. They have to strip the parents of their parental rights. And if you go and you go and adopt a child in Jamaica without stripping parents of their parental rights, child's not an orphan. Child's not an orphan. You can't bring the child up as an orphan. Then you got to fall back on regular adoption laws where you have to show you lived in the same household for 2 years, and most people haven't lived in the household with their niece for 2 years. And I've seen those problems. So before you think about going to adopt anybody, okay, and there's no such thing as filing for a niece, but if you say, you know what, maybe I'm willing to adopt my niece, okay, and I'm not telling you that you should go adopt her. I mean, that's a very personal thing to do between you and the rest of the family and the niece as well. But if that's something you're thinking of doing, don't go out and do it. Come see a lawyer first, because there has to be specific ways that what you have to follow in order to get it done.
She's 28.
Oh, you can't adopt it.
Right?
It's too old. Yeah, it has to be under 16.
She has to be under 16?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so she's too old.
She's too old then.
Yep, way too old.
If I have a goddaughter, I could adopt my goddaughter. She's in Jamaica, and then file for her?
If she's under 16, yes.
About my mom, she's living in New York.
Right.
And she filed for me.
Right.
And my mother told me that she received a letter that my case is in Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how long it's going to take me?
So if the case was transferred from the National Visa Center to Kingston, it should take you hopefully 8 to 12 weeks for an appointment, unless your visa number retrogressed, then, depending on what your priority date is. Do you know what your priority date is?
No, I don't know.
No. Usually, yeah, if you go, you have a you have a letter that says KNG with a whole bunch of numbers after it?
Yes, she have that in New York.
Okay.
Everything was done in New York.
Fine.
Go back to her.
Okay, so on that letter that says KNG with a whole bunch of numbers on it, right below it is something called a priority date. Mm-hmm. And the priority date will tell you where you are on the waiting list. Everything was sent to Kingston, but I know the visa's retrogressed, so it may not be the 8 to 12 weeks that it normally is. And what you do is you go to the visa bulletin from the U.S. State Department, and you go to Google, if you have an internet connection, you go to Google, and you just Google visa bulletin.
Right.
And the first thing that pops up is the State Department's visa bulletin. That's not my website. Mm-hmm. That's the U.S. government's website. And you scroll down to your category, it'll tell you what dates they're processing. So, for example, they may say January 1st, 2005. And if your priority date is February 1st, 2005, you have a month to wait.
Right.
Okay? If they've already passed your priority date, then you know that the embassy should be calling you momentarily.
Okay, because what she said to me that they're just waiting for dates. And it was like from about February.
Yeah, because the visa's retrogressed, meaning the U.S. government gave too many visas. They pushed the numbers too fast. So that's why I said it depends on what your priority date is. But you can check by looking at the visa bulletin. I just explained to you how to do it.